What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of One Dream Fishing. If you're new to a podcast, my name is Reese. This is Mark, and that's Jacob. And we do podcasts after every event that we do, go fish, and we give tips on how we caught fish and how we broke down the lake. So, Jacob, would you like to start off how you broke down the lake?
Yeah, so basically our last event, or the first event of our spring semester, was a Bassmaster down at Toledo Bend in Many, Louisiana. Keep an eye out. There will be some podcasts coming out about our time there a little bit prior to the tournament. There'll be a few episodes behind this one, but y'all go check those out. But anyways, starting off, we got there, how many days was it? Like 10?
Yeah. Was it 8? I think it was 8.
It was 8 days if we fished the third day.
8 days. 8 days total in Many, Louisiana. So the first day we kind of went down there. We had about 3 hours of fishing. We were like, you know what, we're going to run some stuff. We were right about mid-lake. Went and ran this underwater bridge that was blown up. So it was essentially a roadbed with a ton of chunk rock in it. And right about 8-9 foot. The top of it came to like, I think, 5. So it was kind of perfect depth for where we were at. The water temp was like 60, 61 when we first got there. So we pulled up there, caught a 4, caught a couple 2s, and then we ran over, found another roadbed that topped off in, I think, like 7 foot. And that was, we caught a 3 off of that. So for like 3 hours of practice, we had a great first day. And then kind of the following days, we had some crazy rain. I mean, y'all can attest to that. We, what was it, like our third day, we did not see the sun.
Yes, it was ridiculous. We just had rain.
The third and fourth day, it rained for like 2 days straight.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. But during that time, we kind of figured out that these fish were kind of staging on these secondary points in roadbeds. So we had like probably 8 or 9 points that had a large amount of fish in some spots, but we just never were able to find size. The only time we found size was in just these isolated schools. And if y'all don't know, Toledo Bend is literally like an underwater forest. So there's a large amount of stumps. So basically in these stump fields, we were just finding big roaming schools that would have these bigger quality fish, the 3.5 to 4 pounders. But I mean, roaming schools, they are impossible to pattern. So really we were confident we could get like 10, 11 pounds. So what was y'all's practice like?
So me and Reese pulled up the first day. We had 3 hours of practice the afternoon, and Reese had found a roadbed up north, kind of farther back in the creek, and that was the first spot we went and hit. And it was in about 20 feet of water. We kind of saw a bunch of bait suspended on it, but didn't catch anything. So we decided to go, we saw a bunch of rocks kind of like at the mouth of this cove, driving in there, and we decided to go in the day cranking the rocks, and I ended up catching a 6-pounder, which was a beautiful fish, just fat pre-spawn winter bass. And Reese caught like 2.5, 3 pounders, which was a really solid first afternoon of practice. We thought, wow, this is going to be a great week. And I'll let Reese talk about the following days of practice.
Yeah, so basically the next couple of days we ran with that. We were chasing the warmer water temperatures because even though it was January, the water was about 65 in the back of creeks, and
which is crazy for this time of year in Texas.
Yeah, so that water was ridiculously warm, and usually this time of year they're pushed out deep, but we had found them on these little drop-offs working their way up shallow, so they were getting really close to doing the dirty up shallow, and so we were looking for fish that were getting ready for that, and we were so basically we started running these secondary points, and we found an area that was 3 points in a row, and then they had a creek channel swinging on those points, and those fish were sitting on the brush hanging off into that creek channel, and we found schools of fish in there. And so you'll see in our travel vlog we have a little montage that'll be up in there of a bunch of little spotted bass and largemouth that we had caught left and right for about an hour and a half. So it was just ridiculous how many fish we were catching, and it was nice because we had 3 spots that we knew we could go catch fish up shallow, so that was nice. And then Mark caught another 6-pounder off the brush pile. So we were fishing this dock line, and to see if there was anything up there, and Mark just left his graph on side scan out back to the boat lane, and it's this shallow 15-foot flat. There's no contours really, and we're just idling out, and he looks down, and there's this massive brush pile. It's super thick, and it's really exactly what you want to see as a brush pile. And so it was towards the end of the day, and so we ended up going back home and eating. But we came back out the next day, and Mark's second cast, he got a 6-pounder on it, and so we're like, all right, we're done.
Yeah,
here.
so we just decided to leave the brush pile alone and just go try to look for basically the same thing, because what was different about that brush pile was, if y'all haven't been on Toledo Bend, pretty much the whole thing is flooded timber, and in this area there really wasn't much flooded timber around, and it was kind of just a brush pile in the middle of nowhere, which at the mouth of a creek, which is a great just kind of holding spot for these fish up there as they're moving back into the creek. So we just assumed that there was going to be more fish in there, considering it was probably, I don't know, 20 yards long by like 10 yards wide. So it was a massive brush pile.
Yeah, and so basically we kept, we're like, all right, so this is here.
Yeah.
There's could be something else here, and so we just stood in that area and graphed a little bit more, and we saw something weird on the graph, and it's just this giant pipeline showed up, and
Yeah.
it had like these 8-foot tall little sections that were holding up the pipe, and we're like, all right, let's do a Carolina rig on there. And my first cast, I drug it up and just let it hang off that side of that pipe, and there's fish. I got a 3-pounder off it, and we're like, all right, we can catch fish here too. We left that spot, and basically we just tried to replicate stuff like that, look all over the lake for that kind of stuff, and we caught a couple fish, and we were just pretty sure that we could go out and catch 15 pounds a day, and that's where we thought we needed to be to make that cut to get to the national championship.
So yeah, after we had found those 2 spots, that was like pretty much the last 2 days of practice. So going into the tournament day 1, we were feeling like really
Let's
confident.
talk about that final day of practice.
Oh,
I'll lead into it.
okay, yeah.
So the last day of practice was actually the worst weather, quite possibly, I think I've ever fished in. We woke up, I only had, now if y'all are into tournament fishing, you know about the heating patches, the hand warmers, all that. We are all crazy into that stuff because we hate fishing in the cold. But we were like basically out of like hand warmers. So I had like 2 hand warmers. I only had 1 of like the body heat patches. We went out. It was like, what, 31 degrees?
Yeah, with like a wind chill of like 25, 24.
25, and then raining.
Yes.
Like a downpour. Like basically
It was
a
actually
hurricane.
icing at one point. It
Yeah.
wasn't quite snowing, but it was icing.
It was terrible. So we went out, and it was the final day of practice. So you only get, I think, like a half day. You have to be off the water at 1:30. So we just went out, and you're like, we know what we're gonna do, but we're just gonna try to see if we could find any fish of quality. So we just dedicated that day to scanning, and I remember just like sitting in the boat, and you're just in water, freezing, and I'm like, I haven't felt my hands since I left the truck this morning. I'm like, this is just terrible. And then we found like this one little brush pile by a dock. My partner's like, let's fish this for like 15 minutes. I was fishing it with a drop shot, and I got to the point where I was so cold I just had like my drop shot rod in between my legs, just hands in my pockets. I'm like, you know what? Hopefully a fish will come up and bite the drop shot, because I'm not doing anything with it. But the funny part about the day is we decided to go in at like noon. We were like, this is just not worth it. We already have a pattern. We're not just going to beat ourselves up today. So we actually launched at the same ramp, and we're going in. And me and my partner Ryan are wearing helmets. You'll see that in the travel vlog. They're crazy good to wear. I mean, it's so much better. But we are heading into the ramp, and Mark, you can take the story from here.
Little did they know, me and Reese were in the same boat. No pun intended there, but we decided to get off the water at around, it was like around 11 too. We were freezing cold, and we were feeling pretty confident. We had good spots going into the tournament day, and so we pull up to the boat ramp, and right when we turn the corner to idle in, we see Jacob and Ryan are doing the same thing. So I get up my boat like right behind them, probably like 5 feet from behind them. We were just idling, and I just blare on my horn, and the horns on the nitros are pretty loud. It's like an air horn. So Jacob and Ryan about had a heart attack. They both whipped their helmets around, and you can just imagine them wearing their motorcycle helmets, just freaking out.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that horn, my first thought was, there's no barges on Toledo Bend. And I'm like, what is making that noise? I turned around and it's Mark and Reese trying to mess with us. But it was just a really, really cold day. But we went, ate, went to the meet and all that good stuff. And then we were getting ready for day one of the Bassmaster event. So basically how they work is the top 25 in the tournament get to go to the national championship, and that is after day 1 and day 2. So day 2 they take the top 25, and then if you are inside the top 12 you make the cut to Saturday, which is basically like their championship day. So do y'all want to take it the first day? What happened?
Yeah, the first day did not go as planned.
Very, very rough day for us. The weather had changed big time from practice, and we were a little flustered, honestly.
Yeah, very flustered.
We didn't think properly on what we should do, and we went out there. We were like, all right, we caught it. Like, we were really confident in what we had. I was like, we can easily go to these limit spots and catch 12 pounds of fat spots and mix largies in there, and then we were hoping we could move out to Mark's brush pile and at least catch one good one, and that'll give us a decent bag moving, and we'll qualify. But so we go to these shallow spots on these creek channel drop, and we were dragging a Carolina rig, and it was overcast that day, and for some reason our fish had the schools that were grouped up on those points had spread out all everywhere, and so we couldn't figure them out. Mark ended up catching a little drum on a drop shot, and that really just set our day for us. We were like, ooh, it's gonna be a tough one, and it was really frustrating because we had hit those spots and we had just loaded up on them through practice, and then day of the tournament was nothing there, and then so
we did never make an adjustment, which was terrible on our part, and something we're learning as young anglers. If y'all don't know, we're all freshmen here at Dallas Baptist University, and it was our first major bass tournament, and when things like that, especially at this time of year, the weather is changing constantly. These fish, the metabolism is so fragile on them, and with the bait constantly moving up and down to shallow and deep water, and the water temperature changing, on days like that, you got to learn how to adjust, and that's something me and Reese didn't do. We just figured that since we caught fish at this spot a couple of days ago, that the fish were still going to be there, but something really key that we learned from this tournament was adjusting and just like treating every day as a new day. So basically we didn't catch any keepers the first day, which was tough on us. It was hard because we had practiced so hard, and it was still fun though, because it was our first bass event. I mean, I looked at Reese halfway through the day and I was like, look man, like I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be doing anything else right now. Like, this is what we love to do. Our school has given us so much, so just thank you to them. And bass is awesome. I love them. They're so organized, and it was basically like the coolest tournament we fished, even though we didn't do good on the first day.
Right. And for all y'all high school anglers out there listening or watching to this, I think the biggest thing that Mark's trying to say here is, like, I believe fishing is almost as much of a mental game as it is that of skill or trying to figure out where these fish are. Once you beat yourself mentally, you're not going to make something happen. I think that's probably one of the biggest things they can take away from this, is just being able to move on your feet and not get too down. I mean, any cast can be a 10-pounder, and any 5 cast can be 20 pounds. I mean, it's just the way the tables turn, and you just got to be able to roll with the punches is, I think, one of the biggest things if you're in a circumstance like that, is just keeping your head straight.
Absolutely. So, Jacob, we'll let you talk about your first day. Theirs went a little bit different than ours. So.
Yeah, so we started out, we had, basically, I think the three of us had just about kind of the same patterns, just in different locations on the lake, which was just like secondary points with good steep drop-offs. And like we said, when we first got to this lake, it was, I think we were finding, like, at these points, like 60, 61 degree water temp. And tournament day, at those same points, we were getting 52, 53 water temp. So, I mean, it's definitely changing those fish in a way. We don't exactly know what they're doing right now. I don't think, honestly, the fish even know what they're doing right now. But we came up to our first point and just fished that really, really hard. We were able to get 4 off of that, including my 3.5 kicker that we had never even caught a fish bigger than 2.5 off of this point in practice. So it was definitely we're like, this could turn into something right here if we get a couple more of these. So we ran to some of our keeper spots that we picked that were right by the ramp. We were like, if we can pick off, we got 4 fish at that time, if we can pick off just 1 or 2 more, catch one to finish it out, and then Cole, we can be in a good situation. So we went in there, I think we caught 2 or 3 more. We were out sitting at like 11 pounds till like 2 o'clock. And part of this tournament is a Bassmaster. I mean, these things are massive, 250 boats. And we were actually boat 241, so we were right in the back of the field. We weren't doing until right around 4:45, which actually I think worked in our favor for this tournament. But we knew we had quite a bit of time to work with, so we just kind of worked these spots really hard because we figured we would not be fishing them the next day. So it got to about I think like 2-3 o'clock, and we were like, we just need 1 to 2 more kicker bites and we could really make some. We were sitting like right at 11 pounds. So we went back to that bridge we had hit the first day. We're like, we're just going to fish this hard. Like, I think it was like the last 30 minutes. And pulled up there. I think we fished it for like 20 minutes and no bite. And we're like, we're going to kind of fish down the roadbed because we had been fishing at just the deep part of the roadbed. So we started fishing it down. I was still throwing a drop shot, and my partner actually picked up a lipless and was just kind of ripping it over this roadbed. And he kind of had this like popping it kind of over this roadbed, and all of a sudden 3.5, there's one, and boated him. This was like maybe 10 minutes till we had to leave, and I was like, oh my gosh, we just need 1 more and we can make something happen. And just worked on the back side of this roadbed. We're like, we're just gonna work this, I mean maybe 25-yard stretch, and then we're leaving. And right then another 3-pounder. We're like, okay, we're at like 15 pounds, and we were like maybe 10 minutes away from check-in, 10 miles to go. I mean, we had to juice it to get back to weighing, but we ended up weighing I think it was either 15 pounds or 15 pounds and an ounce, but we were able to sit in 25th place, so we're looking pretty good for day 2. And y'all want to take day 2?
Yeah, oh, and if y'all didn't know, there was right at 250 boats in this tournament. So Jacob and Ryan at 25th place after day 1 was just phenomenal, and we were so excited for them. Even though we had a bad day, we were excited for them, and we just encouraged them, and we're excited to see how they did for the next day. So, Reese, I'll let Reese talk about day 2 for us.
Yeah, so day 2 went a little bit better than day 1. We actually got a couple bites this day, and so the weather was completely different. It changed from that overcast, rainy day to a bluebird sky day, and we just talked, and we had decided that we were going to start run some new water. Because we were about 15 pounds behind everyone else, and figured that they were going to go and catch another 15 pounds, and we were like, okay, if we're going to get in this cut, we need about a 30-pound sack. So
Yeah.
we were like, we're going to go look for some new water, and hopefully we can stumble across something good. And so that's what we did in the first part of the morning, and we really didn't find much. And about 2-3 hours into the day, we were like, you know what, we caught fish doing this in practice. We're going to sit down in this area that we had caught fish in and see if we can't locate those schools that had spread out and see if they had grouped up. And we went in and we tried a new spot actually towards the mouth of the cove. The water was a lot cleaner, and we found a little hump and there was rock on it, and so we pull up on there and just bite after bite, but we could not get a hook in them for some reason. And it turns out Mark set the hook on one, he let it eat the bait for about 5-6 seconds, and it came out a little spotted bass. So we caught one spot off there, and we kind of hit these 2 different areas that were inside the same area where we found the schools, and we located some fish in there. We caught 4 fish off of that, and I think we weighed about 7.5 pounds. So it wasn't a great day, but it was definitely a lot better than the first day. And so we learned from the first day and kind of made some adjustments, and that's all you can ask.
Yes.
So starting for our day 2. This one was brutal, to put a warning out there.
Yeah.
We were thinking, 25th place right at 15 pounds. First place was 19. I mean, there was not a lot of separation. We were definitely in the hunt to definitely in the 25 National Championship Cup, but even a chance at that 12 cut. So we were actually boat 10 in the morning because the boat numbers switched. So we were first ones at the boat ramp at 4 a.m., which that came early. But we got out on the water, run into our first spot, and all of a sudden we have no power in the outboard. And came to a screeching halt about half a mile from our spot. And the engine's just throwing codes. It's not letting it get above right at an idle, and we are just broke. This cannot happen at a worse time. I mean, we are potentially at a place to qualify for the Natty, so we're able to let Mark and Reese know, and they would be our tow in at the end of the day, but we were not able to get that outboard started. But luckily enough, like I said, we were half a mile from our bridge spot, and we literally had to sit there for 8 hours and fish that as best we could, just with the hope that maybe some fish would hop up on that roadbed and we could scratch maybe 12-15 pounds. So we stayed there the entire day, and about 2 hours in, some even worse news came. The trolling motor would not turn with the foot pedal, so we had to actually go up there and grab the head of the Ultrex to turn it. And I mean, that just put a big damper on the day. And that was probably another, just like Mark and Reese's first day, is just everything is going bad. It's hard to keep your head on straight, but we were only able to get 2 fish for, I think it was right at 312, so we ended with 18 something. It was a damper. We really thought we could, if we had an outboard, we could have probably gotten the fish to make it happen, but you win some, you lose some. It happens, all happens for a reason. The good Lord's got a plan somehow. So we're going on to Smith Lake pretty quick here.
Y'all are.
Yeah, me. I will be going to Smith Lake. They will actually be going to the
Florida
FLW National Championship.
Yes, so for those of y'all who do not know, me and Reese actually qualified in our fall semester, or first semester here at EBU. We qualified for the FLW National Championship in Florida, which is later on in February, and it will be held at Harris Chain of Lakes. So we're super excited about that. Hopefully we will do a lot better at that tournament than we did. And we kind of sucks. We kind of kicked off the year with kind of a terrible tournament, but we're gonna get things back on track and rolling at the national championship. So
100%.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So that is basically it for this podcast. If y'all want to see different things in these podcasts, we've started breaking off from just kind of these lake breakdown videos. But just let us know what y'all want to see. Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, and make sure y'all go check out our travel blog and our other podcasts on YouTube. And
if y'all haven't already, go check out our Apple Podcast.
Oh, yes.
It'll be posted in the description. Go give that a look. Also, make sure to subscribe to Apple Podcasts. Go give our YouTube a look. We have a bunch of challenge videos on there, tournament videos, travel vlogs. All of our video podcasts are on there.
Yeah, and we're actually putting out a video that you can look up. It's going to be called Share Lunker Caught at Toledo Bend. So if you want to watch, I caught a 8-pounder during practice, and so that's going to be a really cool video. We went out 3 days, just us 3 before the official practice, and we went out and caught some fish. So if you want to go check that out, that'll be up. And other than that, thanks for watching, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for watching.
God bless.
And we will see you on the next episode of One Dream Fishing.